Thanks, Steve, and welcome to everybody. Happy New Year. Appreciate everybody jumping on. Appreciate your time, your interest. And just want to talk about a couple of things today. Obviously, this is the conventional signing day, the old February National Signing Day, which is a little bit more anticlimactic over the recent years. But still want to comment about our two prospects that signed today. Then just look back on last season briefly and then transition into this year and be happy to answer questions afterwards. So regarding signing day, as you know, we signed two young guys today, Devin Hilson from Des Moines and then Mike Myslinski from Jacksonville, Florida. And both are guys that we've been watching closely. It was a little bit of a challenge with Devin since they played only two games last season. That made our evaluation a little bit more challenging. And then Mike's a guy we've known about for quite some time and have been recruiting really hard for quite some time. So we're just really pleased to have both those guys join the class. That brings us to a class of 19. We think they're both excellent prospects and really will bring something to this class, needless to say. So we're excited to have them join what we think is already a pretty strong class. They pushed it up even higher. So we're really excited about that. And then also Xavier Williams has joined us as a grad transfer. He began here last week. So glad to have him, good to welcome him to our team as well. Yeah, just a couple of words about 2020. Certainly it was a historic year on all levels, basically for everybody, certainly in our country. And really, it's interesting because our program, we try to build things on consistency. And the only consistency last year was the inconsistency we faced basically at every turn. And so it was really an unusual year, a lot of unknowns, a lot of things to work through. And that's just the way it was. And again, it's not unique to a football program. I think all of us as, just Americans have been faced with a lot of really interesting challenges. But, back closer to home, we're just really proud of everyone's efforts, the way everybody was able to adjust, where they were able to adapt to things. And I thought our players did an unbelievably good job. So first item of business on that front is just to thank our medical staff, Dr. Peterson right on down. It was truly a team effort to go through, and the work that our medical staff does, especially our trainers, I think is a lot of times underappreciated. Unless you know somebody personally that's been injured and has to go through a long rehab, a lot of lonely hours, and they spend those hours with those trainers. This year, the trainers ended up doing a lot of things they never signed up for, even dreamed of. Obviously, with the testing, all those kinds of things, running. Guys that were sick to the hotel and helping them with their quarantine situations, all those kinds of things. I mean, I can't even imagine how many hours they spent above and beyond. So it's really been an amazing effort. It's a team effort. And I know this, without their efforts, we never would have had a chance to even begin a season, let alone play a season. So special thanks again to everybody involved, Dr. Peterson, all the people that contributed, conference-wise, et cetera, but especially our trainers here right on campus, Cammie and her staff. And then, for our players, I think, just in a word, if I was going to characterize last year, they were resilient. They just seemed to handle whatever came their way with real depthness. Whatever the challenge might have been, they answered it, and they answered it in a positive way. And I think back to March 13th, none of us had any idea when we left campus. We knew something was going on. We had no idea what we were about to face over the next, 6, 7, 8 months. And there's no reason anybody could even envision what was about to take place. So, we went from thinking it might be a couple weeks, a couple months, that type of thing, to, a long, prolonged period. And I think in a nutshell, you think about us having a chance to play 8 games in 8 straight weeks. I think that just indicates the level of commitment that our players had. They had great support, certainly from the medical staff, as I mentioned, but really a level of commitment from everybody involved. Everybody's on the same page and everybody's pushing to give ourselves a chance at least to get out there and play those 8 games. And, we were prepared to play our 9th and our 10th. Unfortunately, that didn't materialize. But again, the credit really goes to our players for taking the attitude they took and more importantly, taking the steps they took to give us a chance. It all began with our seniors. We got great leadership. It's hard to have a good football team, which we had. It's hard to have that without a really strong senior class. And those guys showed great leadership, I think, throughout this entire period. And you can't have a successful team if you don't have good leadership, and you've got to have good chemistry. And I think that, again, was really on exhibit with our team all season. Starts with the seniors. I just want to wish them all the best. We've got guys that have left the program now, and a couple underclassmen that have too. So just very appreciative of all their efforts, their contributions, and certainly wish everybody the best as they move into their next phase of life. And that's what college is all about, and certainly college football. But just a really really special group of guys and a special football team. So happy about that. And then just one other quick sidebar, just a side note. The other obvious change I think that's really been affected everywhere. It's going to affect everybody in college football is just the portal and that whole phenomena. And I know you probably have more stats than I do on that. I was on a conference call about a month ago that a national coaches call, and they referenced how many people are in the portal right now. And heard a stat this morning that apparently more players have entered the portal since December 1st last year till now, basically 2 months plus than the entire year last year. So it just indicates a real trend, and it's one that's certainly concerning. I think it's going to be interesting to watch how it goes. And, there are going to be a lot of new things coming to college football, certainly in the years ahead. So we'll see where all that goes. Turning the page to 2021, that's exactly what we started last week. We had our first team meeting, and it was in person. So, believe me, a special appreciation for being able to meet with our players, although we had to do it in a different room and, get everybody spread out so they're socially distanced. But don't take that for granted anymore. But it was good to have the guys back in the building. It was the longest break that we've ever had, at least in my 23 plus 9 years. We've never had a break that long. So I think everybody was especially anxious to get back here. A lot of energy in the room, certainly. And it's just good to have the guys back in the building to start training again. So happy about that. Like we do every year, we just conveyed to the players that this is a new team, and this is 2021. So it's the first time the team as it exists right now is able to be together in one location. Certainly we'll add to that team as more and more newcomers come in during the course of the year. But it was the first stop for the group, and just good to visit with the guys. And I think the biggest message is like it is every year. It's a new calendar year, it's a new team, and certainly a new season with a lot of new challenges. And that's the way it always has been. And we're looking forward to the work that's ahead. Certainly our seniors left a great legacy, and now it's up to everybody else, this year's seniors and everybody else in the room, to grab the ball and help advance it, move it forward. And that's what it's all about. So as a staff, we're excited. As a team, we're excited. And the biggest thing is we know we have opportunity. Also know we've got a lot of work to do. And it happens in stages. There's a process to everything we do. Steve mentioned spring ball. That's one change we've already made. We're going to push spring ball back a week, considering the recruiting calendar as it stands right now. We're going to be in a quiet period starting April 15th. So, we really realistically don't envision our coaches being on the road this spring. So it allows us a little bit more time to train between now and then. So we'll just slide, the calendar back a week and still have some wiggle room in case there's pauses along the way. And we're just going to have to, like we've been doing, like all of us have been doing, we'll remain flexible on that and kind of go from there. The biggest focus right now is on our winter program, the strength conditioning work our guys do, and then some of the things we do team-wise, during this period. So that's where our focus is right now. And then, just a couple closing thoughts. I'll open it up. First and foremost, one thing that hasn't changed since we left here and got back, and more importantly, got back in June, COVID is still our number one thing to deal with. And it's got to be our number one point of awareness and point of responsibility. I think all of us have seen, there's a lot of advances being made right now. That's great news. There's a lot of still uncertainty and a lot of unknown questions that have, need to be answered, or questions that need to be answered. So, the biggest thing we can continue to do is just try to be as smart as we can. I think our players certainly did a great job of that in the winter, the fall months, in season, and which went into the winter. And we've got to continue that now because it is important that we have an uninterrupted spring semester academically and football wise is also. So, there's a little bit of responsibility that hasn't changed, and everybody's got to, grab on there. I think our guys will do a great job with that. Also want to congratulate the guys that have been involved in the playoffs. I guess we had 9 guys a couple weekends ago, championship weekend I think it was. Had 9 guys still playing, and a lot of really neat stories, and 4 guys still going right now. So it's what a thrill to be involved in a Super Bowl. Think about all the great players that never had that opportunity in their careers, and we've got 4 guys, Tristan being the youngest as a rookie, playing in his first Super Bowl. So just a lot of good stories, and every guy's got a side stories. Tristan, reading about him with his kid captain that he developed a relationship with, giving cleats to her. Anthony, think about him as a, I don't want to say undersized, but a real linear, skinny defensive end when he got here, and what he's developed into. Ben Neiman, you think about the family aspect, 2 Super Bowls in a row, and Jay, Luann, and Nick being able to be part of that. That's really kind of a neat thing. And Anthony Hitchens being the old guy in the group, 7-year veteran. And, when he came here, we weren't sure if he was a defensive back or running back. And he's really carved out quite a niche and had an unbelievable NFL career. And referenced him in a meeting this morning, just, when he got here, he had a lot to learn. And but he was a willing learner, hard worker, and obviously a very, very good football player, first-class person. So just happy for him. One other side note, just word about Dace Richardson. I think that's been fairly public. He's facing a health challenge, and sounds like it's going really well. But the bigger story, Pat Anger getting involved, a teammate, and then a lot of former teammates, former football players here, as well as a lot of fans just jumping involved into the fray, and showing support for Dace. So I think that's one of the beauties of what this is all about. It's 10 plus years ago when those guys played together, and they continue to stay close, support each other, and guys that never overlapped with Dace certainly got involved as well. Not to mention just people that really care out there that are fans or not even fans, but just care about Dace. So I think that's one of the good things certainly, and we all wish Dace nothing but the best for a fast recovery. And then just close again by expressing my appreciation for all of our players from last year, the job they did, and also their families. Nobody gets anywhere on their own, and certainly the family support last year was extremely critical. And the parents were just absolutely fantastic under very tough, trying circumstances. So happy about that. And again, I can speak on behalf of the entire staff, everybody involved. Certainly I can speak on my own behalf. Just really excited to get my 23rd season started, and we got a lot of challenges, a lot of work to do, and we're anxious to get going. That being said, I'll throw it out for questions.
Coach, the first question this afternoon from Mia O'Brien.
Man, you put me on the spot there. I may or may not be driving to Michael Myslinski's signing day as we speak. How's it going, Coach? Long time no chat.
Yeah, welcome back, Mia. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Your weather's a little better than ours. I know that.
Hey, it's 37 or something like that today down here, so I'm not so sure about that. But
no,
anyway,
no snow on the ground.
That is true. That is true. We'll take it. Obviously, Michael had an interesting recruitment. You guys were in his top 5 back in August. He goes, commits to Texas. Obviously, the change in the coaching staff there. How would you describe that situation? Maybe not just his, but in general. What is it like knowing that a guy that you've been recruiting, but now the situation changes? How do you guys change your approach, when he does decommit?
Well, we really didn't change it. Mike was it was a pleasure to recruit him all along. He was very engaged, throughout the entire process. He and his family are fantastic. They come from an athletic family, so they this is not a totally new arena to them, certainly. And but Mike was just, he was always very deliberate, always very honest, and did a great job of letting us know what information he needed. And from day one, we've been very impressed with him. I mean, very impressed. So our intent was to continue to recruit him until he told us otherwise. And we just feel fortunate that things opened back up and we had the opportunity to continue on, and just really excited about Mike's commitment. I think he's a really good football player. He plays center, as you probably know, and I think that's a position he's really, I think his skill set and his mentality really match up with what we look for in a center. So really excited about that.
And a quick follow-up, and this is actually from my mother. You guys don't historically recruit in the Jacksonville, Northeast Florida area. How did Michael come onto your radar?
I'm the wrong guy to ask, but I'm glad he did. And so, we recruit and scan all that kind of stuff. But the biggest thing was he showed some interest in us. You're correct. We don't spend a lot of time in Jacksonville, but one thing led to another there. Mike's background, obviously, there's some ties there. And, it just kind of opened the door. So it was a really good thing for us, certainly. And if a player shows interest in our program from anywhere that's sincere interest, we're gonna follow up and try to see what we can do about, continuing that interest and continuing that relationship.
I'm stopped at the school, so I can say hi in person. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Coach, the next question this afternoon from Mark Freund.
Hi, Kirk. I've spent a little time around the Des Moines North program over the course of the season. Devin, I'm sure you know the on-field kind of results that North has had over the years. Devin seems to be a bit of a barrier breaker here. I think there are a lot of people that would probably conclude that a Power 5 scholarship is not necessarily a given or even possible at a place like North. What drew you to him? Can you take me through the process getting Devin in your ranks?
Full disclosure, the first thing that really piqued my interest was seeing him play basketball a year ago. We had football highlights and basketball highlights, and I probably saw more potential just watching him play basketball, but not knowing anything about him as a person, those types of things, just looking at him as an athlete. And so now you come forward a little bit. Certainly we had only two games to look at and evaluate. That's not easy. They were working under tough circumstances too, like everybody. So the opportunities there were limited. But I think the more we learned about Devin and learned about his mom, I spoke with his mom. She's a super impressive lady. And we did a lot of work with people that have worked with Devin over the last couple of years. And the message was very consistent. It was very positive, and everybody that he's been around really believes in him. I think he's demonstrated a real seriousness about not only playing college football, but being a college graduate. I think he's demonstrated that, not just talked about it. And so it all kind of came together, and we made the decision last week to move forward. And we're thrilled about it, and I'm convinced he's going to come in here and really work hard, and that's all we ask any of our guys to do. So we're excited about that part of it. And then the other thing, I would just share, during my time in coaching, it's good players come from all places. It's amazing. Whether you're talking about pro football, not everybody comes from, Power 5 institutions. And it's the same way in, with our program, especially if you just consider how many walk-ons we've had that have really excelled here. So, for whatever reason, players get overlooked a little bit, and it doesn't really, I don't think, have anything to do with the size of the school they're at or the size of their community. It's more about the individual, and that's really kind of what we were trying to do, is identify the things that we thought were going to be important if he's going to have a good career here at Iowa and walk away with the degree.
Yeah, one quick follow-up there. I was with Devin this morning, and Coach Addy was telling me about the commitment to doing whatever it took to get to a spot like this. I'd imagine you hear a similar type of story a lot of the time with some of these guys, but what does it say about the commitment to the process on Devin's part to get his grades up, to get his physical features ready for college, and really make a commitment to playing at this level?
It's not an uncommon story, but it's a commendable story in that, a lot of guys, and I know when I was in 9th, 10th grade, I had no idea one thing about college, that's for sure. So that's not unusual. He dug a little bit of a hole for himself. And then I think when he figured out that maybe there are better opportunities beyond high school, that's when he really got in gear. And to me, that's certainly a positive. That's what we're looking for, is that effort, that commitment to getting something done and going after a goal and achieving it. And I think that's a good trait for everybody to have, and regardless, because it all spills over to whatever you're doing. So, we're convinced he's serious about getting a degree here. We're serious he's convinced about being a good football player and a good team leader. So we're excited to have him join.
Thank you, Kirk.
Yeah.
The next question, Coach, from Corey Roldan.
Coach, what was it like to watch Tristan play this year and go into the Super Bowl in year one?
Oh, it's been, unbelievable. I got a text back, when they're in camp probably from Tom Moore, who's a 80 or 81-year-old coach. I don't know if he had his birthday yet, but, with Tampa Bay and played here in the late 50s. Just saying what a great job Tristan was doing. He did the same thing a year ago when Anthony got there, just as young rookies, how well they were doing and, just impressing everybody there. And then, you think about what Tristan's done playing wise. And one nice thing about our schedule this year, I've had a chance to watch more pro football than normal, probably. Didn't get to see much in December, obviously, but, since our season ended, been able to watch him. And when you think about it, just how fortunate he is, first of all, to be picked to a team that, had the potential to have that kind of success. Throw on top of it, he's playing with arguably the greatest quarterback and maybe one of the greatest players ever to play football. No pressure there, I guess, right? Quarterback, right tackle. But I think the best thing is that he's really helped them achieve the level they've achieved at. And, they're a Super Bowl participant team, which is that's a high altitude to get to. And he hasn't not only, gotten in the way of them getting there, he's contributed to them getting there. So, it's really phenomenal, but it's not overly surprising because, you guys got to know Tristan a little bit, and he's just got a good mentality. He's a genuine, authentic guy that works hard. He's got a lot of pride in what he does. And, whatever it's going to take to be successful, he's going to dedicate the time and energy towards that. So I think he's done that. And the good news for him is he's just going to keep getting better. He's got tremendous potential still. Excuse me.
The next question from Chad Leistico.
Hey, Kirk, I got a million questions here. I'll try to zero in on a couple.
I got to interject. I'm still struggling with this Zoom existence. We have the Hollywood squares up there. I know you guys are in there somewhere, but I just like this. I still detest all this. It's better than nothing, so I'm glad we're together. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm looking
I
forward
still can't get through this,
I'm looking forward to the in-person someday.
Hopefully sooner than later. Yeah.
A couple additions, I guess, in your secondary that maybe I wasn't expecting. Can you, where do you see Xavier Williams projecting if he comes in as a safety and corner? And also Matt Hankins, what conversations did you have with him about coming back, and what difference does that make to your secondary?
I'll start with Matt. As you know, recent trend has been, we've been having guys leave and decide they're going to move on to the next stage of their lives. And I think there's a biological clock for everybody. Matt did play as a freshman, so that probably affected it. But I think he took his time. He was methodical about it. We didn't provide a lot of information. I think he got some on his own. But I think what it all came down to when he settled down and settled in, I think he came to the conclusion another year of football would be good for him. And, that's just, he's excited to be back here. And that's one thing I make clear to anybody that's thinking about, maybe leaving or staying. There's no sense staying if your heart isn't in it and you don't have both feet right here firm and, committed to it. So he's enthused about it. Just saw him about 2 hours ago and doing well. So he's enthused about that. But it was strictly, it was his decision all the way. And, guy like Zach Van Valkenburg, same thing. Zach's a year older yet. He just felt like this was the right thing for him to do. So we're thrilled about that. Same with the other guys. Max Cooper, a little different because he did, have a redshirt available. But Caleb and Austin, just great to have those guys back. So, happy about that. But, I think it's really to the point now where, guys, they get to a point where they feel like, hey, it's time to move on to my next step or, come back, and that we feel good about that part. So Matt will be back, and then Xavier, we'll probably start him out at corner, but we think he's got position flexibility. And, it's a long year. It's a long road ahead. So we're just anxious to get him on the field in spring football and learn more about him as a player. Seems like a tremendous young man. Been very impressed with my interactions with him, and happy he's joining our football team.
Coach, the next question from John Bowenkamp.
Hey, Kirk, how much did the pandemic affect completing this class? And do you think it's got you behind a little bit on the next class with some of the limitations you guys have had about not getting out, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, we're thrilled about this class, the one we just signed and just, completed today. And as I've said before, in some strange way, I feel like I know these prospects better than a normal year, just because we had so much time to dedicate towards it back, when we should have been having spring practice, should have been, in a summer program, all those kinds of things. So in some strange way, I think it was almost a benefit. Not that we want to go through that again. But where we are missing out right now is, we didn't have a chance to evaluate last spring. Nobody could go out on the road. Our coaches couldn't be out in schools. We weren't able to have camps on campus where we not only, are identifying prospects for this current year, but also for years in advance. You you learn things about people then. And, couldn't go out during the fall, needless to say. And then the last couple of weeks, normally we'd be on the road in January when we're sitting here. So it's going to be a challenge for us. You have to try to go off film. There are a lot of people that didn't play high school football this year. So you can imagine the challenges there, right? And the NFL is going to go through a series of challenges, I think, with this draft that are going to be unique, and we're going to feel that too as we move forward. All that being said, everybody's facing the same challenge. And so you just got to try to figure out a way to do it as best you can and go from there. We don't have a particularly large class to recruit next year. I guess maybe that's a lucky break for us, but we'll still go about the process the same way. And when we offer a scholarship, it's still every bit as significant, whether we're offering 5 in a year or 25. You just want to make sure you really do your due diligence and get every bit of information you can. So it's going to be a little bit different this year. It's going to be a bigger challenge.
The next question, Coach, from Scott Docterman.
Hi, Kirk. How are you today?
Good, Scott. How about you?
I'm doing great. I know when you talk about competitions, you pretty much say every position is a competition, and shame on somebody like this year would be Tyler Linderbaum for losing his job. Sure. But what kind of evaluation and competition do you expect at quarterback this spring and beyond? I mean, would you consider it open, fully open, Spencer's job to lose, or is his job just, or is he solidly at quarterback going forward?
If it was Nate Stanley, 3-year starter, probably a different discussion. But I thought, let's go back to Spencer just specifically, as I said all fall long. I thought he did a really quality job considering the circumstances, and I asked everybody to keep that in mind, which is tough to do when you're watching games. I get that, but you think about a guy that didn't have spring football, didn't have that opportunity afforded him. Didn't have a chance to do a lot of things in summer that, that spring football is a really big void. I can't, overstate that, because the things you learn in spring, you carry into the summer. So he didn't have that base or foundation. So quite frankly, I'm not sure what he's doing some of the times in the summer, because it's better to practice no habits than bad habits, right? So you worry about that. So all that being said, it just, he really came into a year where there were a lot of challenges, and then our abrupt ending back in August, and then we start up again and really didn't have a preseason. So when he rolled out there for that Purdue game, I mean, it was just, it was a tough circumstance. And I thought he improved during the season. I thought he improved in games. So all that being said, we have great belief in him. He's a tremendous guy, a tremendous leader. And, he let us, he won as a starting quarterback. We won 75% of our games. So that's not shabby. And, but we expect him to improve, like we expect everybody to. And we think Alex Padilla is a good young prospect. And, we have other guys too that we will learn more about this spring, hopefully. Nobody's writing that down in ink yet, but those are the things that, the out of season's for, is to really see how guys are progressing, how they're improving. Spencer's got a huge head start because he's got 8 starts under his belt, and he's, I think, learned from experiences. And, one of the things I really commend him on is learning during the course of a game. Over there in Champaign, it wasn't looking so good there for a while. And, a lesser guy would have melted there. I think about Brad Banks, with that meltdown in the second half of their game in 2002, and then how he came back. So in my mind, that's how I look at Spencer. Like, this guy got tested and fought through it. That's a real asset right there. But we'll let everybody compete, and we'll go into it with an open mind. And Spencer knows that, and he knows, it's incumbent upon him and everybody to get better. Tyler Linderbaum, also, I know he's getting a lot of accolades, but we expect him to compete. The good news is those guys, and I think we have a lot of guys that think this way. Matt Hankins mentioned him a minute ago. they want to improve. They want to compete. So, that's what makes good players, good players, and makes them better.
The next question, Coach, from Rick Brown.
Hey, Coach, I believe that Davion's the 10th player you've had now leave for the NFL before their senior year since 18. And, for a program known for player development, losing 10 guys would appear to be a crushing blow, and yet you've won 25 games. Can you kind of share your theories on why that's happened?
Well, we talked about adjusting, adapting earlier, right? And that's one more form of that. And Davion's really an interesting story because I don't think he maybe started one game a year ago in the 19th season, but he was not. You guys get the point. We had Cedric and Brady in there playing. So we had two seniors. He was playing behind those guys when he was in there. He played well. But I don't think anybody would have gone into the season saying, "Hey, this guy's just going to emerge like he did." So it's a real credit to Davey on the work he's put in and the effort he played with and the energy he played with, and did a great job. And so, yeah, I mean, that's what we're based on. So the reality is when those things happen, guys might have decisions to make. And if they do, then we're, it's next man in, next man up. That's how the program's built. The pace has picked up a little bit. But I think part of that's a mindset on our part too. We just have to be a little bit more open and realize that's part of college football. It's part of what the world we live in now. And when we get guys coming back like Zach or Matt that are both starters, good starters, not just starters, they're established, really good Division I football players. To get them back, that's a bonus, but we weren't counting on that. So you just kind of have that mindset that if they're not here, somebody else is going to have to step up and fill the void.
As a follow-up, you talk about the 9 guys in the NFC and AFC championship games. I think 4 of those guys were 2-star recruits, and a couple more were 3-star recruits. And you were the only Power 5 school to offer 4 of them. Does that make you feel good about your program's ability to judge talent?
Well, yeah, I think, we try to pride ourselves on that. It's an exact science. Anybody that evaluates personnel or people knows that. But we try to, the whole trick is finding people that you feel are going to mesh in with what you're trying to do, whether it's schematically or, more so just, general program, how we run the program, how we do things. So that's the trick. And, I bring up Anthony Hitchens. I was sharing with the staff, this is 2010, I think it was, in Arizona, where, he had a special teams meeting at 10:30. He shows up at, 10:25, grabs a banana and goes in. That was his idea of breakfast back then. I can promise you, without talking to Anthony, he's got a little better grip on what good nutrition is now after being a 7-year pro. But that's what young guys do, and that's the difference between a young guy and being older and just kind of starting to understand that certain things can really help you be a better, a better football player, better whatever it is you're trying to do. So it's all part of the process. And Anthony's a good illustration of that. He was willing to learn, willing to work hard, and just his senior year in 13 played unbelievably well for us. So it was a process. So it didn't start out like this guy's ready to roll.
Next question, Coach, from Tom Kakert.
Hey, Kirk. Hope you're doing well.
Thank you.
When you guys separated from Chris Doyle, you elevated Raymond Braithwaite into the interim role at strength and conditioning. What's the status of that job position? Is Ray going to be the guy going forward, or are you out looking for other options?
No, that's our intention. And when Ray took over back in June, I had every confidence that he would do a great job, embrace it and do a great job. And Cody Myers was elevated into the position Ray was in as the top assistant. And the two of them, I think, have worked really well together. Our players have really responded well to them. And, we had to navigate through a very difficult year. They were affected every bit as much as we were as football coaches, not only practices being disrupted, but I think our conditioning periods, just trying to keep track of who had been quarantined, all those things that come with contact tracing, more so than the COVID. I mean, it was a really tricky math equation. So those guys, I mentioned the training staff. Well, these guys did the same thing because they were in season. So, I think they've done a great job, and we're excited. We got the program started last Wednesday in earnest. Should have been Tuesday. We got snowed out, but got it started Wednesday. And we're looking forward to a great out of season, and looking forward to Ray and Cody's leadership moving forward.
Coach, the next question from Mike O'Brien.
Coach, how's it going?
Good, Mike. How about you?
Good. I know we've talked about, the Super Bowl guys for a little bit. We talked to Tristan a couple days ago, and he was saying you guys had a conversation. He spoke with you maybe about a week or two ago. If you would like to, can you share kind of what that conversation is, what you tell guys in that position? And again, just being able to enjoy. I know you don't get to watch these guys every Sunday. I'd imagine you have the Super Bowl off of work and are able to watch, and
Plan on it. Yeah.
and the stuff like that never gets old for you, I imagine.
Yeah. We don't work that hard. Coaches always say they work hard. We're going to watch the Super Bowl. So, and we'll have the weekend off. This is the out of season. If you don't do it now, you're crazy. So, but yeah, just the message is, and for the record, I've never coached in a Super Bowl. Certainly I didn't play in one. But, I imagine it's the same message he's hearing from Coach Arians and the guys are hearing from Coach Reed. Things don't change. The circumstances certainly are different than any game Tristan's ever played in. But the things that make you successful don't change. So the key is to focus on your performance, what you can do to help the team, and try not to get caught up in all the other stuff. And it's easier said than done, certainly. But we're proud of him. We just communicate that we're proud of him and encourage him to keep doing what has made him good already. And if he does that, he's just going to keep growing. And all one player can do is all he can do on Sunday. And really, it's more important what he does with his preparation. He'll know what to do when the game gets going. He'll know how to play.
Next question, Coach, from Mike Halas.
Kirk, you're eligible, I guess, by your age, and I'm sorry to bring that up, for the vaccine. Have you gotten it? Will you be able to get it?
As you probably know, my clock is still running. The only good thing, Mary ended up getting COVID from me. The gift that keeps on giving. The one thing that occurred to me near the end was I said, hey, at least now we can go do things we haven't been doing, like going out to dinner, which we haven't done yet. But anyway, I guess if there's one good thing about getting it is you can't give it or get it for a while. But I plan on getting it. Yeah, Mike, I plan on getting a vaccine whenever my expiration date comes up.
Okay, well, that said.
And I'll say that just as a public address announcement, enthusiastically look forward to, not that you look forward to shots, but I'm looking forward to that, having that opportunity.
Okay, well, you kind of just answered my follow-up question, because I was going to say, using your platform, would you urge Hawkeye fans everywhere to get vaccinated when it's possible?
I'm certainly no medical expert, but all the smart people I talk to, there's no doubt in my mind. So when I get that opportunity, there's no question I'm going to take advantage of that and, keep our fingers crossed afterwards. But I think everything that any of us can do to help, put a damper on this thing is, it's what we should do.
Coach, the next question from Mark Emmert.
Yeah, Kirk, I understand you met with Broderick Binns at least once, maybe more than once by now. Could you share with us what the tone of that meeting was, what the value of that meeting was, and what steps you're going to take going forward now to kind of improve the things that were mentioned in last summer's report?
Yeah, it's. I think the most important work, quite frankly, has already been addressed and been done. And I think a couple things. The most important thing of all this is whatever we did learn and whatever tweaks, changes we may have made. We got to live by that now. Make sure that we're consistent in our actions. I think we're also need to be consistent with our dialogue to make sure if there are things that get off the tracks, or if there's something else that needs to be addressed or discussed, then we need to have those conversations. Not wait. And then the other part, to me, the second focus, and we're kind of in that stage right now, is to look at other things that we can do structurally or whatever, educationally, et cetera, programming, just to keep the dialogue going. So, the department's done a couple things already with some speakers, outside people, obviously by Zoom. I think they've been productive. Broderick met with our staff last week. That was a really hour meeting that went about hour 45, hour 50. So in a good way, like a lot of good discussion. I just got off the phone with them a little while ago about future planning for the staff, but more importantly, opportunities for our team, and just kind of integrate that into our out of season program and, carry it in season 2 where appropriate. But, we're just, it's a new year. And I'm not going to say it's like 14, 15, where we just, tore a lot of things up and just kind of reframed a lot of things. But there are some similarities where, one downside of being somewhere for a while and having a staff that's been consistent. Sometimes the analogy I give you is, you get a playbook that should be 3 inches and all of a sudden it's 6 inches. And 5, 6 years later, somebody says, hey, why do we call this, that? Well, it's because, Joe Smith said it 7 years ago. Nobody knows why, but that's what we call it. So, we kind of go through that exercise. And I'd say this year, our focus has been more on some perimeter things, kind of an extension of what we did back in the summertime.
The next question is from Leah Van of the Cedar Rapids Gazette. Welcome, Leah.
Hi, Coach. This is Leah. Nice to meet you virtually.
I will say welcome as well. So
thank you. My question's on Ben Neiman. I was just wondering, what do you think it is about him that has enabled him to, work his way up from an undrafted free agent to all of a sudden being a two-time Super Bowl contending team?
Yeah, first thing, Leah, you don't make an NFL team by accident. And, when you're a first round draft pick like Tristan, we talked about earlier, that's a little different circumstance, but at some point you have to back it up. And when you go in at the other end as a free agent, you do have to draw attention to yourself. And the thing I think, the best way as we talk to our players, the best way to be successful in anything you do, but certainly in the NFL camp, is be consistent. Show up every day, be more than on time, and be ready to go. Same things we ask our guys to do here. And then, if you can develop a consistency about you, and they all, coaches realize guys are going to make mistakes, especially in it's a step up, tougher competition, a new learning curve, etc. But the key is not making those mistakes frequently. Eliminating those things, showing them that you can learn, showing them that you will compete. You've got enough capabilities. And I wasn't surprised Ben wasn't drafted, but it wouldn't have surprised me had he been drafted. I think Ben maybe a little underappreciated by the NFL. I don't mean that in a critical way, but he was a 4-year player, not a 5th-year guy. So he still had a lot of maturation in my mind ahead. It's one thing I learned when I coached in the NFL. Those guys, they grow and develop too, especially in their first couple, 3, 4 years. So we felt like he had a lot of upside that way. Highly intelligent, works at it great, and I say intelligent, football intelligence. Just all those things. And he's very versatile. So, he's really carved out quite a niche already, playing a lot of sub defense for him. So that's a lot of snaps in a game. And then, playing on special teams very well, like he did here. So he's given himself every chance to be successful. And then most importantly, he's done it on a consistent basis. And excuse me, he was like that from day one with us. Nick's done the same, and just really happy for him. And then, like I mentioned, Tristan, first year ends up in the Super Bowl. How about that? How about Ben Neiman 2 in a row? And, you think about guys that, never had that opportunity. So it's a really neat thing, really neat story.
Just to follow up on that, you've got 2 Hawkeyes on each team. Who are you rooting for?
Just slide to the winning team. That's easy. No problem. So, fair weather fan, right? No, I'm just going to enjoy the game. I mean, it's what a matchup it is. So just enjoy the game.
Coach, we got 3 more hands over here in the waiting room. So we will start with Chad and move on to Scott and wrap things up with Tom Kakert. So the next question from Chad Leistico.
Hey, Kirk, as you know, you've referenced, missing spring practice was such a big deal for the quarterback position. I guess, given that Alex and Deuce in particular, didn't get a spring last year, will you make some special, plans, to give them, a full and fair shot to show what they can do, at the quarterback position this spring?
Yeah, we encourage our players to ignore the noise, right? And I'm getting a little tuned about what's going on, maybe, a little indigestion on our quarterback situation, perhaps. But, we plan on doing that regardless. And, Alex has done a really nice job when he's had the opportunities we've given him. So happy about that. We think he's a really quality player. Most important thing, we saw a lot of growth with Alex. And I think I alluded to that about Spencer a year ago, saw growth during the season. So, yeah, I mean, it's, I wouldn't be doing my job. None of us as coaches would be doing our job if we don't create a situation where guys have a chance to show their growth, their development. Players, we expect all of our players to be different. Keep our fingers crossed when we get on the field late March, hopefully they'll be better than they were back in December. If not, we're not going to be able to do what Rick alluded to. Losing guys like Davion. We got to have some guys stepping up. And then the good news is hopefully they'll be a lot better when we get to August, and assuming it's a conventional year. But yeah, we plan on open competition. But the record shows that Spencer Peaches has done a really good job, and he's our starter right now. So somebody's got to beat him out. And but it's got to be a fair competition, and there's so many things that can happen. So I just encourage players to just worry about doing their best and trying to grow and improve as much as they can, and then you deal with the circumstances that they come to you. That's the thing. And I'll go back to just I don't want to. You bring up a good point. Missing spring practice, just like recruiting got affected by us not being out there. I'm not looking lightly on that. It didn't affect our older guys as much. But you think about young guys, and again, Spencer's a great example. How much better could he have been? He's not the only guy, guys that maybe hadn't had starting experience that, just made the hill a little higher for them to climb when we got going there in the fall. So spring practice, I've always believed is a really important time and a really important opportunity for everybody. And the coaching staff too, we grow during spring. So we'll keep our fingers crossed, hope we get to do it. But it's really an important thing about building a team.
The next question from Scott Docterman.
Yeah, kind of like Chad, I have a million questions. I'll try to condense it into one paragraph if possible. But I guess, first of all, a couple of players I was interested. McCall isn't listed. I know he opted out last year. I assume that he's not coming back. Is that fair?
Yeah, the opt-out goes till the end of the calendar year, or the academic calendar year, as I understand it. It's the first time many of us have been there, but he is not in the program right now, but he's still a member of our team.
Okay.
Yep.
Austin Spiewak, is he on scholarship now that he's coming back for a sixth year?
I never used to answer those questions, but yeah, he is. I mean, everything's public knowledge now, right?
Yeah.
So
trying to make it that way.
He's earned it. Yeah, he's earned it.
Where do things sit at defensive line? I mean, this is the third straight year you've lost at least 3 starters, and your defense and stop rate was the best in the country this year. You've got 2 guys that are definitely NFL players. How do you? I mean, are you going to go looking in the transfer portal for a few guys?
Yeah, we'll keep our minds open on everything. It's like I'll go back to the quarterback thing. We'll have an open mind about everything if we can make our team better. But it's good to know, like in Spencer's case, it's good to know that we've had a guy that's played really, in my mind, successfully for us. Can he get better? Yeah, we expect him to. But I mean, this guy won. With him playing for us, we won 6 games out of 8. So, and I think we would have done just fine with the rest of the games. But but he's got to get better. We expect that. And it's kind of the same way with the defensive line. We feel like we have some really good young players right now. Hopefully, they can be ready by next August, September, whenever the season starts. But that we'll have more answers about that as we move along. But we have faith in our system and faith in our coaches and the development that the guys will be able to play. But if something comes along, like Jack Heflin last year is a great addition. He really it was a perfect fit. And Zach Van Valkenburg's kind of proven to be the same. So if something like that comes that makes sense, yeah, we'll definitely entertain offers. But we have a lot of guys on campus too that we feel good about, and we're just anxious to see them. Hopefully we'll get that opportunity to learn more about them this spring. Yep.
Final question this afternoon, Coach, from Tom Kakert.
Kirk, I got kind of a twofold one. Are you looking at like March 31st then to start practice? Is that kind of the date?
Yeah, what day of the week is that?
It's like Wednesday. It's like a Wednesday.
Yeah, somewhere in there, somewhere in that vicinity probably. And so basically, I mean, do the math. We want to get 8 weeks of training in,
Sure.
And then we want to give our guys a break. They need a break after that. So we'll figure out what's smart, give them a chance to just, be away from things. We're not going to have a spring break per se, but we don't want them training hard. And then we'll start spring ball where they're, after they get a chance to recover a little bit and rejuvenate.
Okay. Follow up a little bit on recruiting. Perceptions for you guys is always a thing you guys have to overcome. The cornfields, that stuff like that. How has what happened in June impacted you guys recruiting wise? How difficult has that been? Because you don't get kids on campus to kind of show them more what you're about, what your program's about. Is that maybe the most important thing, to get kids on campus now?
It sure helps. And that's, it's particularly this class right now because we're you know, as you probably know, I know you know, we were able to start free calling this past Tuesday. So, you know, you're talking to people that you haven't met. Like typically a lot of guys would have been on campus 3-4 games, you know, in the fall. They've been here for camps, all those kinds of things. So, you know, it's a whole different feel to it. And, you know, it's a challenge, that's for sure. But, you know, yeah, and you know, the whole key is having guys on campus. And most importantly, the most important thing that happens, there's a lot of things that do happen when prospects and their families come to campus. I personally think the most significant thing is when they have a chance to visit with players in the program that can answer questions and tell their stories a little bit. And, you know, to all the things that we've been through, I think that's been the key, you know, putting prospects on the phone or Zoom and FaceTiming with players in our program and having those guys shoot them straight and tell them what's going on and what things are and all that kind of stuff. And that's really how it works. I've always felt like if you have a healthy culture, a healthy environment, then you've got a chance to recruit well. And but you got to make those connections, and that has become a challenge now with the, you know, just with the lockdown, if you will.
Okay, Coach, thanks so much.
And going back to that spring date, whenever we, you know, kind of get that. Right now, we're writing everything in pencil, just like probably all you guys. But whenever we start to zero in on something, we'll get that to you as fast as possible. But you can just bank on the better part of April being, you know, really where we're doing our work. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. We will have a transcript from this afternoon's news conference, so stay tuned for that. Otherwise, thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon. I appreciate your patience. We'll talk soon.